Well, school is officially back in session. And if you're a parent, you know what that means. Life just got real busy again between school drop offs, work, practices, dinner, laundry, and just the never ending to do list. Finding time to actually sit down and read a book can feel impossible. And for book lovers, that's not an option. But thankfully, being busy doesn't mean your TBR list has to keep collecting dust. With Audible, you can listen while you're driving, cleaning, getting ready, or just squeezing in a tiny bit of time for yourself. And it's not just audiobooks. Audible originals give you exclusive stories and performances you won't find anywhere else, featuring some of the best in the business, like the one and only Christina Ricci, who stars in an 8-episode Audible original called Harker, which is co-authored by James Patterson, so you know it's good. And it reimagines Bram Stoker's Dracula as a detective noir thriller set in New Orleans. Seriously, you guys, Audible has so much to offer. Take it from a fellow busy mom and bookworm. If you're a book lover who never seems to have enough hours in the day, go check out Audible through the link in my show notes for your 30-day free trial. Your ears will thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Booze Clues. Booze Clues. Sorry. You're the ones who keep coming back. Don't blame me. I'm just being myself. Be yourself. Be yourself. Welcome to Booze Clues. You write them, I read them. Things get chaotic usually, but mostly scary. And this week we have 5 incredible listener stories. So this is your sign, if you believe in signs. And if not, then I'm just telling you to send in your stories. I want to hear them. I want to read them. And I want to scare people with them or make them laugh. Because at this point, you can send me anything scary, embarrassing, so embarrassing it's scary, hometown crimes, or just family chaos. Really anything. Maybe include some of your favorite recipes when you send in stories too, because I am tired of eating the same damn 7 things every week. All right, well, I will shut up now so we can get into these stories. The subject line of this one is just straight to the point. It says UFO sighting. Fucking love that. This listener says, "Hi, Taylor. I started listening because of your Peter Woodcock episode and stuck around for the haunted stuff. Your mix of skepticism, humor, and keeping an open mind is why I keep coming back." Well, thank you. I love listening whenever I can. I'm also a mother with a full-time job, respect, and I struggle with that feeling of never having time for myself or my hobbies anymore. Oh, I know that feeling. You have inspired me to allow time for myself again. Oh, I used to love to paint, but haven't picked up a brush in years. As I began listening and hearing you say how things get so busy you could cry, I really felt like, wow, if this woman can have one of the most demanding jobs on this planet, a teacher, be a present mother, and make time for this podcast she is so passionate about, I can pick up a brush. I told my husband I need at least 2 hours a week to myself to just paint. I don't need a whole day. I just want quiet time to reset, or at least as quiet as it could be with a 3-year-old, 8-year-old, and 11-year-old who is convinced I'm ruining her life. Welcome to the club. Uh, I know that feeling well. She goes on to say, being the default parent is hard. Oh, girl, I know. But I wouldn't change being a mother for the world. My kids are my reason for living and also my reason for drinking. Just so real for that. I'm happy to say I've been able to dedicate that much needed time to painting. Good. Good. I'm happy to hear that. Thanks for reminding me that before I was a mother, I was a person with interests, and those don't have to disappear simply because I created 3 tiny humans. You're welcome. Yeah, we always have time for our weird selves, our true selves, our artistic selves. You need that time for yourself. You really do. She says, anyway, I do have a story to tell you, but I wanted to shout you out for being a total badass mama and for reminding me to make time for me. Are you trying to make me cry or something? Holy shit, that is one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me. I'm so glad you're painting again. And I would love to see some of your artwork. That's incredible. It's really hard when you become a mom to find that balance between who you were, who you are now, and who you ultimately want to be in this lifetime. It's really easy to get lost in the mental load and just feel so burnt out that you don't even want to do things for yourself anymore. It really is. It's so easy to say I don't have time for that, but you should always be a priority. You are a priority. You can't pour from an empty cup, you know? And I know that's very cliche, but it's fucking true. So that's that. And taking that time, whether it's painting, writing, going for a walk, or just taking a fucking nap, they're so important to our mental health and just, feeling like ourselves again. We're so much more than just mothers. And I fully believe life is meant to be enjoyed, not just lived. Like you need to experience life, not just go through the motions. So I'm glad you're taking time for yourself again. That's so important. So this listener's name is Natasha. She says, "My name's Natasha. I'm from Bozeman, Montana, and this happened in October of 2012. I had just left my brother's house after a family gathering, and it was one of those crystal clear nights where you can see every single star. Montana loves to flex like that. About 15 minutes into the drive home, I noticed what I thought was a satellite moving across the sky, but then it just stopped. And I do mean stopped. It did not slow down or fade. It was very abrupt. And then it just hovered. I pulled over because I honestly thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. So I got out of my truck and watched it for maybe 30 seconds. It was still just hovering there. Then, as I stared up into the sky, trying to figure out what I was looking at, another light appeared beside it. It was the same level of brightness and the same color. And no, there were no blinking lights like an airplane. It was like gravity stopped working, like time froze, and I just stood there, mesmerized by these floating objects. The two lights sat perfectly still side by side before suddenly shooting off into opposite directions. It was so fast my eyes couldn't adjust to the speed. All I know is that one went straight up and the other shot toward the horizon. But again, there was no slow momentum forward or upward. It was like they were frozen in time in the sky and then they just teleported away. They did not make any sort of sound, and there was no chemtrails or anything that I could see. I remember quickly reaching for my phone because I wanted to record what I had just seen. Well, yeah, I would too. And I was hoping that they would make their way back toward me. But when I tried to unlock my phone, it was frozen, completely unresponsive. The screen wasn't black, it was just my lock screen not wanting to be unlocked. I tried resetting it, tried turning it off and on. I then quickly plugged it into the car charger, but nothing worked. It didn't turn off. It didn't turn on. It was just frozen. Not even Alohomora. Not even Alohomora by Miss Granger herself could have unlocked that bad boy. I stood there perplexed, looked back up at the sky, and they were still gone. Unfortunately, I had missed my opportunity to record them. This whole encounter lasted what felt like maybe 5 minutes, not too long at all, and I was back on the road. By the time my phone finally unlocked and decided to work again, I was continuing my drive home. As I drove, I noticed my phone light up in my center console, and I went to pick it up and put in the code, and it worked perfectly fine. The weirdest part, though, happened when I got home. According to the dashboard clock in my car and on my phone, I'd left my brother's around 10:15 p.m. I remember this. I had told my husband, who was out of town when I was leaving. I had texted him right as I got in my car, and I left at 10:15. It should have taken me maybe 25 minutes to get home, even with that little detour. But no, I walked into my house at 11:58 p.m. I have absolutely no idea where all of that extra time went. With my calculations that I have done numerous times going to and from my brother's house, I should have been home latest 10:50, 11 would be pushing it. Maybe I just lost track of time standing outside staring at the sky, or maybe the power had gone out and the clocks were all wonky. That was one of my initial thoughts as well, actually, because we get power surges here all the time when a line goes down, or during a thunderstorm, and then the clocks get all fucked up. But apparently, that's not what happened here. She says, but no, the clock and the clock on the microwave would have been blinking if that happened, but they weren't. No, that's a good point. Ours blink too. So I glanced at my phone. It was, in fact, almost midnight. I checked my laptop as well, and it said the exact same time. It was now midnight. I called my husband to let him know I made it home safely and told him what had happened. He was relieved to hear from me because he said he'd texted me asking if I got home safely and was waiting to hear back. He even tried calling me around 10:45 to check in. I never got a call and never saw a text. What? What the fuck? So he sent a screenshot of his call log and his text timestamp. He had, in fact, tried to get a hold of me, which I should have seen because right after I got back on the road, it only took a few minutes for my phone to light up. Even if it had died or something, I would still be notified of missed calls or the text would have come in after I turned it back on, but nothing. Yeah, that is fucking weird. That is weird. I'm sorry. What the hell? Now, my husband is rather skeptical, but even he thought that was strange. To this day, we are both convinced I had encountered a UFO and somehow it messed with my phone and time as we know it. I really have no other explanation. I lost time and I can't remember the space between. In my memory, it's very simple. Left brother's house, pulled over to see lights. Phone stopped working. No more lights. Drove home. 5 minutes tops. But I guess there are things in this world, and maybe others, that we are never meant to understand. That's my story. Hope you liked it. Natasha from Montana. Holy fucking cannoli, Natasha. Holy shit. You definitely saw a UFO. I have heard of that type of thing happening where people lose time or their cars or electronics go berserk. They stop working when they have encountered UFOs. Oh my gosh. I'm sort of jealous. That's really incredible, but also very scary because what happened in the time that you don't remember? Were you just staring up the sky, just like standing out in the middle of nowhere staring at the sky? Did they beam you up and wipe your memory and decide to let you go? Did you ever check for like probing? Do you have any like marks on your body? I have so many questions. That's really cool. Unless you don't think it's cool, then very, very scary. I'm so sorry. But thank you so much for writing that in. I don't get a whole lot of stories in the alien or UFO genre written into me, so I really love this. I want to hear more. If you guys have any alien or just like strange UFO encounter stories, please, 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 I fucking beg of you, send them my way. Not to sound desperate, but I am. I want to know, okay? Thanks, Natasha, for both that story and for all the kind words. Thank you. That was really sweet. And I want to see those paintings. Okay. Don't forget, send them to me. Send me some pictures. All right. This one's subject line is a ghost stole my wedding ring, or was it a glitch in the matrix? Very intriguing. All right. Let's see what happens. Hello. My name is Samhain. Wait, shut up. She said, my name is Samhain. And in parentheses, she says, yes, Samhain. Everyone said it wrong when I was a kid. It's the term for summer's end and the harvest or thinning of the veil. I guess my parents really wanted a spooky kid. Well, lucky for them, I live up to the name. That is the coolest name I've ever heard. The coolest. You're so cool. Well, damn it. Now I have to have another baby. Who's going to tell David? Just kidding. Just kidding. That ship has sailed, all seamen lost, if you know what I mean. But hey, when I get my next dog, maybe I can name him Samhain, Fuck, dude, that's really cool. I love that. Because we all know my next dog is going to be either a Dobie, a Doberman, or a Cane, a Cane Corso, if not another Pitty. And it's going to be a black dog, most likely. So Samhain is a badass name. And now I'm going to name my dog that after you. Technically, it's not after you, though. It's like a historical term. It's Irish. So, gosh, don't be so cocky. I'm just kidding. All right. Sorry. Got sidetracked by your coolness, but I do hope it's okay that I name my dog after you. She says, I found your podcast because Spotify recommended you based on my interests, and I must say I'm not mad about it. I started in episode 1, and I'm currently on the Haunted Disneyland episode. Well, damn, you made some good time. Now I know what to look for the next time I go. Who knew a place with motorized cars on a track could cause so many accidents and hauntings? And in parentheses, she wrote, everyone. Everyone knew. Anyway, keep up the great pod, and I hope to catch up soon. But now here's my story. I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts, and when I grew up, I loved creepy, weird, spooky stuff. How could I not with my name? But even though I loved all of it, I never really believed in paranormal stuff. Not because I'm a skeptic necessarily, I just figured I'd never had any experiences and I'd had plenty of opportunities for things to happen considering my interests. And this is the story that squashed any ounce of skepticism I had in my body. Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Here we go. I love stories like this. True Crime Coven, Gooligans, before we get back into this case, I need to talk to you about something equally as addictive as true crime, but like way less illegal. And that is Deutsch cookie dough. And no, I'm not talking about sneaking bites and wondering if you're about to contract salmonella. This is 100% safe, edible cookie dough. Eat the whole container. I support you. I support snacks of all kinds. But this is the snack of all snacks. And you guys know me, I love food. Deutsch is like my own little personal tub of therapy. Having a bad day? Have some Deutsch. Feeling a little sad? Have some Deutsch. Babe, you're not sad. You just need cookie dough. And it's also top 5 allergen friendly, which is fantastic news. Not that I have allergies to any of those things, but if you do, you can eat it. And y'all, it is just as much fun to say as it is to eat, I promise. And you don't have to eat it raw. You can bake it. It's cookie dough. There are directions on the tub. So if you feel a crash out coming on, skip the bad decisions. Don't do that. Grab the cookie dough instead and use my code SPIRITS20 to get 20% off your purchase. Link is in the show notes to get started on your new snacking obsession. I promise you won't regret it. I've already eaten 4 tubs today. All right, stay safe and stay snacky. If you've listened to this podcast for more than 5 minutes, you already know my nervous system lives on the edge. That's why I love Rise. Between being a mom, a teacher, and a full-time researcher of all things sinister and spooky, I need energy that doesn't come with anxiety. My therapist says I have plenty of that already, which is why I love to start my day with Rise. Rise is a mushroom coffee blend that gives me focus without the jitters, and it actually helps me quiet my ADHD brain. It lifts my brain fog and somehow even made my gut health way better. We love a multitasking beverage. I usually drink it in the morning before I sit down to research or record, and it helps me stay clear-headed instead of wired. I like to add a little cacao powder, a sprinkle of cinnamon, and of course, my favorite creamer. Then suddenly, it's a delightful little cup of emotional stability. Rise isn't just coffee. It's gut health and nutrition that your body actually craves. With lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, shiitake, and turkey tail, you'll be saying, holy shiitake, I can actually focus because these mushrooms help maintain focus throughout the day. They help maintain your stress levels, and they even boost immunity while clearing up that pesky brain fog. So if you're trying to kick your caffeine habit or you just want something that's genuinely better for your nervous system, head to the link in the show notes and use my code suspectsandspiritspodcast15 to get 15% off your first purchase. What have you got to lose? Again, that's suspectsandspiritspodcast15 to get 15% off your first purchase. Your lizard brain will thank you. She says, about 3 years ago, I was getting ready for work when I knocked my wedding ring off the bathroom counter. I heard it hit the tile and bent over to search for it. I'm rather clumsy, so this tends to happen, but I always find what I drop or knock over easily. My bathroom isn't that large, and there really isn't any crevice it could have lodged itself into. But I'll be damned if I spent over an hour looking for it. Yes, you heard me, an hour. I was late for work, but I also work in a very gossipy office, and showing up without my wedding ring would absolutely make me the talk of the office for who knows how long. Oh my God. I hate that. My husband came in and saw me on my hands and knees, head in a towel, bare ass to the wind, and laughed and asked, "What you doing?" I said in a panicked voice, "I dropped my wedding ring and I can't find it." And after we both laughed about how ridiculous I looked, he got down on his hands and knees to help me. We moved the vanity, shook out the towels, and even checked the sink drain. I thought for sure it fell on the tile. I heard it clank, but it was nowhere to be found. It was gone. I cried because it had belonged to my husband's grandmother, and he just comforted me saying it's okay and that he's sure it would turn up. And I mean, really, it should. Where could it have gone? But I was upset nonetheless. I went to work late with puffy red eyes and like clockwork, gossip initiated. She put that in all capital letters. She says, I ignored the idle chatter and went about my day. Good for you. You're a better person than me. I kept hoping it would turn up. I wouldn't even let my husband run the Roomba in our bathroom. Weeks were going by and still nothing. Finally, he was like, honey, I have to clean the floors. If we do suck it up in a vacuum, we will probably hear it and we can get it out. So that is true. So I let him clean, but no such luck. Finally, 3 weeks later, I was making coffee before work and opened the silverware drawer to grab a spoon for the coffee stirring purposes. And that's when I saw it. My wedding ring, sitting perfectly in the center of the forks, not underneath, not caught in the back, and not on its side. Perfectly, right on top, like someone had placed it there seconds earlier. I stood there in shock. I then took it out in relief and slipped it onto my finger. But then the wheel started turning. No fucking way it got in there on its own. I asked my husband if this was some sort of prank, and he had no idea what I was talking about. It is worth noting that he is a horrible liar and not a prankster, so this would be very out of character for him. I said, "Well, did you put it there as like a surprise to show that you found it?" And he said no, he hadn't found it and he had no idea what I was talking about. I showed him how it was sitting in the drawer, and he said, "I've been in bed all morning. You woke up before me and went to make coffee. I haven't left the bed." And that's when I realized I had opened that drawer twice already that morning, once to get a spoon for yogurt and again for a butter knife. At no point did I see the ring there before I made coffee. And he was right. He hadn't left the bed that morning. I am usually up before him and was following our usual routine. I would have seen him come in and out of our tiny kitchen, but somehow there it was. I was so thankful to have it back, and it felt like a weight was lifted off my chest. But now I was worried about a potential ghost being in my house. My husband thinks it was maybe a glitch in the Matrix. He joked that our simulation coordinator got bored and wanted to spice things up. Yeah, they'd be doing that. She says, "To that I say, he could have just given us a winning lottery ticket or maybe a puppy, not hide my wedding ring." Facts. Well, I can't say for certain what happened. I can say this. I did not put it there. My husband did not put it there. I even checked our ring camera. No one had been in the kitchen other than me. It just showed up there. And that is the most paranormal, inexplicable thing that has ever happened to me. I'm not sure if it was a ghost or a glitch, but it was weird. Either way, I'm happy to have my ring back, and now I'm very careful where I put things in our home or where I potentially knock things over. Hope you enjoyed my weird story, Samhain. That is fucking weird. That is weird. I I know I keep saying I said about the first story, I'm saying about this one, but I really I don't know. These are bizarre stories. Maybe it was like a time glitch or I don't know, something. If it was a ghost, then they're just fucking with you, just for funsies. So you don't need to be scared. But if you've never experienced something like that in your home before, then this is bizarre because how long have you guys been in your home? Like, is there any history there that you know of energetically? Maybe look into the land, or items that you may have brought home from somewhere. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was Nargles. It was the Nargles, I guess. But for those of you who aren't nerds, Nargles are from Harry Potter. They are natural born thieves capable of stealing items from wizards. They like to steal like writing stationery and clothing items. But you know what this does remind me though? It reminds me of, have you guys ever seen Halloween Town 2? I mean, obviously, many of us have seen Halloween Town, classic. But the second one with, oh God, what's his name? What's his name? Gort. Gort. He's like the junk man of Halloween Town. Remember? His house accumulates everything that goes missing from both the mortal world and Halloween Town. I know I cannot be the only one who remembers that. But anyway, my nerd is showing. Very glad you have your ring back, and I hope nothing else goes missing. But if it does, you got to tell me because I have questions. And also, love your name. All right, on to our next story. This one's subject line is, "My son is weird." I love that. You know what? Aren't we all? Uh, this listener says, "Hi, my sister introduced me to your podcast during a road trip, and now I can't stop listening." Well, thank you. When I saw that you accept listener stories, I was so excited because I have endless hours of entertainment brought to you by my son, a creepy kid who knows things he shouldn't. She says, "My name is Melissa and I'm from Georgia." Now, as I said, my son has always been, well, gifted, she put in quotation marks, but not in the sense of academia, more in the way that he remembers things he's way too young to know about. This all started happening when he was 3, and it lasted until he was about 7 years old. I have many tales from him, but let's start with this one. My son was 3, and we were driving past the old church where my grandmother's funeral had been held many, many years before my little guy was even a thought. As we were driving, completely out of nowhere, he said, quote, "That's where Grandma used to sing," end quote. I about crashed that car. We would have had another funeral if it hadn't been for my sister in the car with me. Oh God, she and I exchanged a what the fuck look. And I said, "What do you mean by that, buddy?" I asked because she had died 9 years before my son was even born, when my husband and I had barely started dating, and we don't even really talk about her. Unfortunately, I'm not close with my family, and I don't even have pictures of her up in our home. As far as I knew, he had never seen any. He responded to my question with, "Well, she sang there when you all used to go to church, but now she's in the ground there." That just gave me chills. I have full body chills right now. Oh my God. She says, "My sister and I just stared straight ahead, and she slowly put her hand on mine and squeezed. I then asked him, which grandma? I knew there was no way he could know her name. We had never even talked about her with him. He then said, quote, Mommy, you know grandma. She was your grandma, my great grandma, Grandma Judy, end quote. Oh my God. I love how he's like, Mommy. like, no shit, Mom. It's your grandma. Why are you asking me? He went on to say, quote, "You remember, she wore the blue dress because she didn't like the green one, and then she sang on those steps," end quote. That stopped me cold. We grew up going to that church, and my grandma sang in the choir there. As for the dress at her funeral, my mom and aunt had argued over which dress to bury her in. They ended up choosing the blue one because it was her favorite color, and she'd specifically told them she hated how the green dress fit her. Oh my God. There's no way he could know that. There's no way. And people say mediums and psychics don't exist. Bullshit. Your son, your son definitely has a gift. That's incredible. She says that whole conversation about the dress and her funeral happened privately, again, years before my sweet little weirdo was born. And this story was never told to him or my husband. I had a falling out with my family, and he has never even met anyone other than my sister, but she's never been alone with him. She doesn't babysit him, and we are still rebuilding our relationship. I'm telling you, there's no way in hell he could know any of this. Oh, girl, I believe you. I believe you. I immediately started to silently cry. Oh, as I remembered my grandma. She was the glue, the reason the family came together and stayed together. And after she had passed, our relationships all deteriorated. And it was like there was no other reason to get together anymore. That's really sad. Well, that plus all the toxicity. Oh, well, there's that. I told my son, "You're right. She did hate the green dress, and she had a lovely voice." Suddenly, all the memories came flooding back. My sister told me to pull over so she could drive. And as I did, my son said, quote, "I'm sorry, Mama. You don't have to cry. Grandma says she's all right and it didn't hurt her nothing." Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh, she says, "Well, cry I did. That boy spoke directly into my soul, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him they were happy tears and that I knew she was all right." And then he went on to talk about trains and the train station and Thomas the train and all about trains and asking if he could get a toy train at the store. Then she just wrote, "Boys." He did this off and on for a few years, but not just with my grandma, with random people at random events, and once even told my boss that her mother loved the paisley scarf. Apparently, she had given her mother a paisley scarf as a child. Oh my gosh. And her mom wore it nearly every day. Just weird random things that he could not know. And then one day, it all just stopped. Right around the time he turned 7. He's 9 now and doesn't remember saying any of this. And while part of me misses this chapter, I'm also totally okay with the deceased not speaking through my son. I don't have any explanations, and I probably never will understand how this happened. But my boy has always been very special. And to this day, he is kind and unusually empathetic. I think his soul knows a little more than it should, and I hope he never changes. Love the podcast, and I have more stories about my son if you want them. Melissa. Oh, Melissa. That really got me. That got me right in the feels. Your son he was a child medium. I love stories like that though. I was genuinely tearing up reading that. I had to like fight back the tears. Oh my God, that sweet boy. What an incredible gift. It doesn't seem like it scared him or anything. You know, it just like he just knew that what people needed to hear, I guess. That's so beautiful. And yes, I do need to hear the other stories about this little weirdo of yours. I love this. Thank you for writing in. Okay, guys. Oh man. This next story is it's a shorty, but it's a goodie. I know sometimes I tend to pick the longer ones, so here's to the shorties like me. Go shorty. It's your story. Sorry. I don't know where that came from. Listen, you guys are the ones coming back all the time. I don't know why the fuck you listen to me, but you do. And then you write me stories. So, okay. Anyways, this next story is from Michael, and the subject line is Santa Fe, Texas haunting. Funny sidebar, real quick. When I first saw this subject line, I thought it said Santa Fe, Texas hunting, and I was so concerned. I was like, I'm immediately worried that there is hunting in this subject line. Is this the most dangerous game type of situation? And what kind of story am I about to read? But it's not. I just can't fucking read, apparently. It's Santa Fe, Texas haunting. That's me, Miss Teacher Lady, can't fucking read. Teaching our future leaders. Anywho, Michael in this email, he just jumps right in. We love it. He says, I grew up in a house in Santa Fe, Texas. It was built during the Civil War and was clearly haunted. My mother and stepfather would move the furniture around and clean the house and get ready to go out to the barn to feed our horses and cattle. They would leave the furniture that way through the night. But the next morning, everything would be right back in the same place where it started. After this happened, a very threatening note was written and placed on the end table by the couches. Ugh, a threatening note? What did it say? Is there an attachment anywhere in here? No? No, there's no pictures, nothing else. Okay, I need to know what this note said. Michael says, our house was half a mile from a Confederate cemetery on Cemetery Road. When my mother picked up that note and read it, she called my stepfather, and then he read the note too. And the next morning, we were packing our stuff and moving. The ranch was put up for sale that morning. I need to know. Sorry, that was it. It was a very short story. But I need to know what that note said. Michael, what did it say? Can you write back and let me know? And it was you lived near a Confederate cemetery. Ew. God, you just know those Confederate soldiers can't even be dead without starting shit. I don't want those guys around me. Of course, it would be a Confederate soldier leaving threatening notes. Yeah, Michael, write back in if you're listening and tell me what the note said, please. Okay. So, like I said, that one was really short, but I thought it was really interesting. I've never heard of that happening. Not good. All right. Last story for today. Story number 5. Our next subject line is You liked Hell House LLC. I experienced it. Or were you like an actress? Oh boy. This one just starts out, hi, with the little OG text smiley face. Classic. This listener says, after hearing you mention binge watching the Hell House LLC movies on your trip, I had to send this because it reminded me of something that I experienced. Well, that can't be good. She says, my name is Jordan and I'm from Queens, New York. Back in 2024, everyone around here was talking about a local haunted attraction that was supposed to be one of the most intense haunts in the city. The advertisements bragged about how real everything felt. And well, they weren't kidding. I went with our 4 friends on opening night, and at first it was the usual haunted house stuff. Actors, jump scares, fake blood. Sorry. I, I almost just said the ush. I'm tired. I'm fucking tired, okay? She says the huge, not the ush. Ush the fuck up, okay? The huge, she says. She goes on to say, then we reached this massive slide that dropped you into the next section. Yes, a spooky slide, because why not? Were we sliding into a foam pit or a fiery hell pit? The suspense was killing us. But as we anticipated the drop into Hades, one of the girls, a few people ahead of us, came down screaming. And not haunted house screaming. It was a blood-curdling, terrified scream. At first, I thought, wow, this girl must be part of the show. But then I realized she was actually scared. And then chaos. And they put the little sparkly emojis around the chaos. Everything stopped for a split second. Actors broke character, and suddenly everyone around us was panicking and trying to run the other way. I was genuinely afraid of getting trampled. Oh, God. Yeah, that's like my worst fucking nightmare. That sounds terrible. She says, then we heard someone yell to call 911. Me, being the more rational one of the group, thought maybe someone had had a heart attack from the scare. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. She says this was a place that made you sign a waiver and you had to list known health conditions in case something like this were to happen. So, of course, my brain went there. But we found out later, when we were waiting outside, that there was a woman who had begun foaming at the mouth after going down the hell slide. She was just laying there in the pit and her friend was trying to figure out what was wrong. She initially thought she was having a seizure. Yeah, that was my thought too. But she didn't know she had epilepsy. Spoiler alert, she did not. Okay. After not being able to get across the pit to her, yes, it was a ball pit, the friend who was foaming at the mouth turned around and bit one of the other slide goers who had just come down. She actually took a chunk out of her neck near her collarbone. Oh my gosh. And her friend who slid down directly after her began screaming up the slide that someone was stabbed because she didn't know what had happened. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Which caused the other friend to turn around screaming and running in the opposite direction. Upon hearing this, we didn't know what to think. Was it drugs? That is very bath salts of someone. Oh my God. I mean, you're right. They said, but turns out she was completely sober and didn't even so much as drink. What the fuck happened here? EMS was able to get everyone stabilized, but even they couldn't really give us any answers. The police who showed up also assumed drugs. But what really spooked me that night, though, was what one of the actors said/did before we went in. While we were waiting in line outside, we saw an actor dressed like a funeral director. He was off to the side talking to someone not dressed up. It looked like a boss of sorts. And he said, quote, I am not going in there. That bitch's eyes were black. End quote. Oh, okay. And then he pointed to a few of the girls ahead of us who had just gone in. You know, this is 2024. I'm just going to go ahead and assume contacts. I'm going to say she wanted to be real spooky. And she got some very large black contacts that she put in her eyeballs. Jordan says, we laughed because we thought it was incredible improv. But then, after everything happened inside and we went back outside, none of us were laughing anymore. I know people don't just suddenly get possessed at haunted houses and bite other people's necks. And if she was sober, then what the hell would possess someone, no pun intended, to do that? She says, anyway, this memory lives rent-free in my head. It took a long time before I could watch the Hell House movies again, and now every October, when haunted houses start popping up again, one of us always says, hey, remember when that lady bit someone's neck off? She says, and that's why I don't trust people. That's a valid reason. She says, thanks for all the late night entertainment. I hope you liked my traumatic event. Jordan, what the fuck? I am so glad that woman is okay. I would also think drugs were the culprit here. But if she was sober, maybe she was just like very mentally unwell. You know? That is weird though, that she was foaming at the mouth and how the actor was, off to the side saying he didn't want to go in because of those girls. Ew. Yeah. I don't trust people either. And that's probably one of the most insane stories anyone has written in here. I've got some wild ones, fucking wild ones, but never that someone saw a lady go straight up newborn Jasper in a ball pit. Because what do you mean? I'm sorry. It's not funny that a woman got attacked, but what? Who bites someone's neck? But this is just such a bonkers story. I hope that you tell that at every party you ever go to from here until eternity. What a story. I'm very glad that the person who was bitten is okay. But did they, by chance, do you know, did they become like really beautiful or anything? Like porcelain skin, perfect hair, perfect smoky eye? Let me know. Well, you spooky bitches, you did it again. These were incredible. Keep liking weird shit, keep sending in your stories. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend. Or if you don't have a story to share yourself, but you know someone who does, tell them to listen to the podcast and write it in so that I can read it. Please be sure to leave an offering in Apple review form because I don't want your soul, but I do want to know your thoughts about the pod. And we got a lot of new listeners. So, hey, yeah, you, talking to you. If you like this podcast and you have Apple, scroll on down, mosey on down, and leave a review. And if you have Spotify, you can just like click some stars, preferably 5 of them. But leave a rating to let other people know that they should listen. Thank you guys again for tuning in and hanging out. Be good humans. And as always, remember to trust your lizard brain. Until next time, goodbye.